Bill Nojoud, thank you for being here. So obviously, affordability and housing have been key priorities for this government since Parliament returned in September. That was, again, the focus of this fall economic statement. But given the struggles that Canadians are feeling right now, did this economic statement hit the mark? I'll start with you, Bill.
I think housing and affordability, those might be the big themes, but there's not a whole lot of new spending in those particular areas. It's largely about kind of keeping the status quo. So if you're looking for major items on housing, it's fairly thin. There is support for rental housing, so perhaps if you're looking for a new rental housing, that might affect you. The affordability is very targeted, things like going after junk fees and things like that. Perhaps there's like a review of those roaming fees that you sometimes get hit with when you go overseas on your cell phone. So there's little things like that are fairly specific that might affect people. But in terms of broadly housing and affordability, I don't see a lot of things that are going to have direct impact tomorrow.
Nojoud, what do you make of it?
Yeah, that's exactly it. There isn't really a lot of new money for housing and affordability. There's no GST checks being sent out. There are a few housing measures aimed at increasing supply, loans to developers, things like that. Like Bill said, there are consumer-focused measures that are small. There are changes to the Competition Act that are meant to increase competition and address affordability that way. But really, the government's pitch is that the best thing they could do right now on affordability is to make sure they don't fuel inflation. And I think that's the messaging there, that this is about reining in spending for now to make sure inflation comes down, to make sure rates don't have to rise more, and then we'll see once we kind of cross that uncertain bridge.
Yeah, and without a doubt, going into this statement, we are hearing, of course, from a lot of interested parties, many saying, be calm with your spending. Many are concerned about how much the government's actually putting out there, which makes me wonder, Bill, who do you think will be happy with this statement? Who will be disappointed?
Well, I think people like Tiff Macklem, the governor of the Bank of Canada, might be a bit happy because he'd been sending out some concerns saying that spending at the federal level and the provincial level had been making his job harder to get interest rates down. And so when we were talking about affordability earlier, obviously interest rates is a big affordability issue. If you've got a mortgage coming due, this is the government kind of doing what Tiff Macklem would prefer, which is ease it up with the new spending.
Yeah, I think for those who are looking for big housing measures, especially those in the nonprofit affordable housing sector, this isn't a full housing plan on the government's part. There's small things. I don't think anyone is going to be necessarily thrilled if you're someone who's you champion fiscal restraint and you want to see no new spending. That's not there either. And so I think it's more so about not making anyone super mad. And that's why there are some measures on housing and affordability, but also reining it in. I think that was kind of the government's goal.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because among the measures which the government was using, arguably to send out a message that we feel your pain, has to do with this new Canadian mortgage charter. Talk to me about that, because it seems it was a lot of words, not a lot of teeth. What is this intended to do? What will it do?
I think it's almost like an I feel your pain message, that there's some concern, or the government realizes a lot of people are concerned that there's this wave of mortgages that are going to come due, and people are suddenly going to have to spend a lot more every month just to service their mortgage. And so this is a set of rules. It's kind of reminding people essentially about rules that already exist, that you can strike a better deal if you're a little bit stressed with your banker. You can stretch the payments out. There's some options available for you if it's too tight, but it's not a significant new measure. It's kind of reminding people of their rights and things like your bank should be telling you 4 or 5 months ahead of time that your mortgage is due, and it gives you some time to shop around, that kind of thing.
Nojoud?
Yeah, that's exactly it. We've seen there's been some changes in how financial institutions work with people who are renewing their mortgages, trying to help with those who have variable rate mortgages. And so that's not new. There are some elements that are new in it, but it's more so packaging it together, reminding people that, hey, this is, again, your rights, and it kind of goes along the theme in the fall economic statement of reminding people of what they've already done, and also just packaging it together to make it clearer to people the steps they've taken to ease pressures, including on mortgages.
I do want to also talk about the $15 billion that is meant for housing, government-backed loans, very much defer to 25, 26, which in my mind pops in, well, that's when the next election's meant to be. So would you agree that we're looking at an early platform from this government?
That's so cynical, Michael. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, certainly, I think you could back end some construction related items because it takes some time to have a project on the go and you got to get your plans ready. So there's definitely some to that. In other ways, though, if you look at it, it actually ties their hands come election time because there's this new thing that I thought was pretty interesting of capping deficits at 1% of GDP, which is about $30 billion. So it doesn't leave a whole lot of room for new stuff in a year or two when the Liberals are planning their election platform or the other parties. It kind of ties their hands. So I thought that was kind of interesting as we're getting close to a 2025 and an election.
Yeah, we try to read the political tea leaves. Nojoud, what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, the loans, we've heard that low-cost financing is something that is important to developers, and everybody's been asking for it. They already have money flowing through in that regard, and that, I guess, extends it. I mean, we'll see. I mean, part of it could be just also sending a signal to developers that this will be available in that year, and that kind of could affect plans. But 2025 is a long way. There's a long way to go till we see what happens then with the government.
Although the three of us will still be here. But for now, listen, Bill, Nojoud, thank you for the time.
Thanks a lot.